Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So Telltale Games is officially coming back in like 2 weeks, or I don't even know how many weeks. I think they're coming back in like 2 weeks or like a little less than a month now with the Expand Telltale series. I'm personally really excited about this game. I'm excited to see like what Telltale Games and Deck Knight Games do with this game. I've heard good things about this game, so I'm hoping that it's good, but then again we only have the first episode. But anyways, that's not what this video is about. I want to make some kind of like some Telltale Walking Dead moments of like the hype up before the Expanse releases. So I thought it'd be cool to make a video on Telltale's The Walking Dead and top 5 unanswered questions / mysteries in the Walking Dead universe from Telltale Games. So I tried to think of like 5 in this list. And if you guys do enjoy this video and want to see like more of these types of videos or more unanswered questions, be sure to leave a comment or a like below on this video to show me that, hey, we want more. But yeah, this is gonna be a list from like the least interesting to like the most interesting. I'm kind of worried because I feel like this list is not very good. I only did like a top 5, but yeah. This is my top 5 personally, and I'm sure there's more that I've missed. And if you guys would like to tell me your unanswered questions, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below so I can get an idea and I can feature in a video maybe. But yeah, number 5 has to go, what happened to Ten's head scars? In the Walking Dead the final season, there's a character named Ten, and obviously the first thing you notice once you see him is that he has like burn scars on his face or head, I guess you could say. And there's a lot of mystery to like why he got that, and I was really curious to see which direction like the final season is going in terms of concept art, because if you don't know, there's concept art of Ten being younger, I believe, and it seemed like there's gonna be a flashback between Sophie and Minerva, and I guess Ten's connection with them about his head scars. It'd be really interesting because I think he would be a baby if I'm correct. But yeah, it never happened in the final season, and there was like an old gym area, I believe, that's like burned down in the final season that it seemed like it was going to be related to Ten's head scars with the flashback. But of course that never happened with Telltale Games. Telltale Games always cut out content, and the game was already big enough as it is, except for like episode 4, so I feel like they could have squeezed in somehow. This one felt very important to me because obviously it's the whole game about it. A New Frontier. What happened to the New Frontier cast, Javier and His Family? So with the New Frontier, with that game, there was a bunch of controversy. It's actually kind of like the worst in the season, and I strongly disagree with it. I feel like the final season kind of had issues with its story as well, but I would say the New Frontier, A New Frontier had like issues, and that's why that there's not really a references to the New Frontier exactly. Javier and His Family, I believe, were like the biggest controversy. I know that they were the most loved in the series, and the issues were kind of like with the other characters, but I noticed with Javier and His Family dynamic in the New Frontier that there were issues with like the writing and like the consistency, and they became unlikable at times, which is why I believe they were brought back into the final season for multiple reasons. Like I mentioned, I think the biggest reason is that a lot of the family members in Javier's family are like determinants, so they would have to like bring them back in some way if they were to be brought back, and it's something that Telltale probably didn't want to handle in terms of choices. They probably didn't want to make any Frontier choices matter to an extent, which is why they were not brought back. But the thing is, Javier could be brought back since he lives no matter what. And it's kind of weird that they didn't decide to bring him back. At least Javier was like a fan favorite character that everyone liked. So I personally find it strange that he was not brought back, especially since he told AJ or told Clementine to bring AJ back so they can play baseball. I'm assuming this has something to do with the war. It's not really, I don't really know because they don't really go into the war about like what's happening in the final season. So I just find it weird that Clementine does mention Javier. It's not like Javier is not mentioned ever again, but it doesn't seem like he's not a big deal anymore. Honestly, this one should be like lower in the list, but I really like the 400 Days characters a lot, so I'm gonna mention them as my third time list thing. But a New Frontier, not New Frontier, oh my gosh. 400 Days characters, they were introduced in the 400 Days DLC, and we had all the characters except for Bonnie. She doesn't really count as a 400 Day character anymore, just because she had like a bigger involvement with the Season 2 story. But everyone else, you know the deal. they had their stories, and I thought they were pretty cool. It's surprising how 400 Days turned out to be good still, because there was apparently like a bunch of content in 400 Days DLC, but they were still like pretty good stories. In season 2, however, besides for Bonnie, everyone else, they became kind of like villains, I guess you could say, in Carver's story, which I didn't really like personally. I thought it was kind of dumb that they were kind of like villains. You could definitely tell that some of them were like kind of like assholes in a way, like villain types. I know that sounds horrible to say because some of it's not true, but I don't know. I personally felt that way, that they became kind of like villains at that point. And after episode 3 in Harm's Way, they're never really seen again, except for maybe Tavia in the beginning of episode 4, but other than that, that's pretty much it. But yeah, Telltale made a big deal about this. They like advertised the heck out of 400 Days, and they even mentioned like before playing season 2 episode 3, you should definitely play 400 Days. So it was kind of like false advertisement. They didn't really matter that much. They were not a big deal at all. So that's what I find really disappointing, is make DLC characters and they basically were brought back. I think that's why they're not that big. This is not a big deal in terms of the mystery. They were definitely brought back in season 2, but their fates were like unknown. That's something that I really disliked. 400 Days would have an involvement with the final season, but it's something that's not even noticeable once you play the episode. It's kind of like something you find out, and it's like a 5-second scene or a 15-second scene. I don't even know. That's something that I find really disappointing. I really don't care if anyone like thinks I'm like shitting on Telltale games. Like, this is not that hard to do. Like, making a simple like choice references. This is not like The Witcher 3. You just have to bring back characters. I'm just saying. Who the fuck were the Delta, and why did they need to capture children? So in the final season of The Walking Dead, it's kind of weird because in the final season, there's this big deal about the villains. The villains are the Delta and Lily. The Delta basically, Lily explains that the Delta basically needs children in order to recruit them as soldiers. It's clear that they seem to be like soldiers kind of type. However, there were never really any children that were like soldiers in the Delta, like their like little tiny camp that was like near the boarding school. I don't think that was the actual Delta itself, but like more of the ship area, I guess you could say. But yeah, I just find it like really strange that they never really deep dive into like who the Delta is and like their big involvement with the war. They like briefly mention it. That's like what really pisses me off. It's like briefly mentioned, and we don't exactly know why they need to capture children other than that they need to be recruited as soldiers. There's not really like an explanation on like the war happening with Richmond. I believe it's with Richmond. I don't even think it's with Richmond specifically. It's just the war that they're all in, like all these like communities. I just wish it deep dive more into that, but it seemed like the final season just wanted to focus on it being Clementine's final season, which is kind of annoying. Like, I get it, it's the final season, but at the same time, I want some story involvement on like who these characters are and like what's going on. Like, please, like I understand character development is important, but like the story, you need a good story as well for that character development. Like, they both have to like intertwine, I guess you could say. Literally the biggest question that I see everywhere, and this is why it's like the top 5 mystery or unanswered question in Telltale's The Walking Dead. What happened to Kenny after season 2? So obviously in season 3, once Kenny, like if you chose to stay with Kenny, you kind of know what happens. But like in season 2, he kind of wanders off into nowhere, and people are wondering like, what happened to him? Where did he go? And it can happen in like 2 different variations with the Wellington ending, and then Kenny can just wander off in like the ending where you decide to leave him. So I wonder what happened to Kenny. Like, is Kenny able to find Clementine in the future? Unfortunately not. Kenny's kind of just gone. A lot of people think that maybe Kenny could have like possibly lived, and there's definitely cut content where Kenny would like drown himself in like a river singing. So I feel like something could have happened where maybe Kenny could have like just like offed himself, but like obviously we'll never know in this like alternative universe. Part of me wants to think that he lived and he like tried to find a new happy life. I feel like that'd be a really cool type of ending for him, and maybe he could discover Clementine in the future, like 20 years after. But I think it's hard to tell, and we can only conclude that he never finds Clementine or AJ, and it's kind of like whatever, he's just gone from the Walking Dead universe. It honestly sucks, but I think that's like the way the writers intended Kenny's ending for that scene. But yeah, that's my top 5 unanswered questions in Telltale's The Walking Dead. It's kind of like a big mystery, woo. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like, share, subscribe, helps our channel a bunch. Thank you guys so much. And let me know what other videos you guys want me to make. And yeah, I'll see you guys later in the next video. Goodbye.